Relevant in an instant. On April 18, 1995, Bill Clinton stood in the East Room of the White House trying to salvage his presidency with a prime-time news conference. He was still recovering from the 1994 elections, in which Republicans won 8 seats in the Senate and a historic 54 seats in the House, taking control of that body for the first time in 40 years. The GOP surge was a repudiation of Clinton's first 2 years in office and his failed healthcare push. Once they came to power, Republicans sprinted to make good on their promises, enshrined in their 1994 campaign document, The Contract with America, passing through the House a balanced budget amendment, welfare reform, and middle-class tax cuts. The political revolution, followed by so much activity, encouraged the view that the House had taken such complete control of the political landscape that they had squeezed the imperial presidency into a Dixie cup. When a president summons the nation to a televised press conference, he expects to fill the airwaves. In this case, only one of the national television networks answered Clinton's call to carry the press conference live. The president just wasn't the most popular show in town. That show was the one airing on Capitol Hill. The extra lights and cameras were aimed at Speaker of the House, Newt Gingrich, who was charging ahead with the conservative contract with America. 2 weeks earlier, Gingrich had addressed the nation at the 100-day mark of his new reign. Looking every inch an American prime minister, he had the furniture to go with it. He stood by a desk that looked as though it would take a half a dozen toughs to move it. Given that so much public attention was focused on Gingrich, a white-haired baby boomer with expansive appetites who stood at one end of Pennsylvania Avenue, the fellow fitting that description at the other end of the avenue was feeling blue. Judy Keene of USA Today didn't make things better. She asked President Clinton at his White House press conference whether he was still relevant. "The Constitution gives me relevance," Clinton said. "The power of our ideas gives me relevance. The record we have built up over the last 2 years and the things we're trying to do to implement it give it relevance. The president is relevant here." With each use of the word relevant, President Clinton seemed to affirm that he was less so. Less than 24 hours later, Bill Clinton would be proved right. On April 19th, Timothy McVeigh detonated a car bomb in front of the Alfred P. Murrah Federal Building in Oklahoma City, killing 168 people, among them 19 children attending daycare in the building. No matter how far a president wanders or is banished from the noisy end of the room, a crisis can instantaneously put the presidency at the center of American life again. In a flash, the comforts of civilization and progress are removed, and a president is tested on all of the qualities of the office: policy, political, and symbolic. The entire country is watching, needing, and grading him. Over the next week, Clinton instructed the public on the manhunt for McVeigh and the relief and recovery efforts in Oklahoma City. As Reagan had elevated the Challenger astronauts' dedication, Clinton praised the federal workers who had been targeted by the anti-government terrorists by heralding the nobility of their public service. In the Oval Office, he and the First Lady spoke to schoolchildren, comforting them about the 19 who had died, just as Reagan had comforted the children who watched the Challenger explode. Clinton also maximized the political opportunity. His opponents in Washington had profited by and encouraged right-wing opposition to the federal government. Clinton put them on the defensive. "We owe those who have sacrificed the duty to purge ourselves of the dark forces which gave rise to this evil," he said. This hastened Clinton's post-election strategy of positioning himself as less liberal than the person the public had come to fear in his first 2 years in office. In the aftermath of the bombing, both the Gallup and CBS New York Times polls recorded Clinton's approval rating at 51%, up from the low to mid-40s. It was the first time Clinton had been a reassuring figure rather than an unsettling one, wrote Waldman.